Hello Legionnaires, this is Maxwell from Legion of Myth, and today we continue the series of Year Zero engine games by creating a Forbidden Lands RPG character. It takes 12 steps to create a Forbidden Lands character, and in this video we are going to perform 11 of those steps and talk a bit about the 12th one. For people who aren't familiar with the Year Zero engine games, some of these processes may be a bit different than what you are used to, but know that the steps are clear, concise, and make perfect sense once you see them in action and create a character for yourself. In fact, I find creating characters in Dungeons & Dragons, Champions, and nearly every other popular game to be much more cumbersome than the Year Zero engine game. Before getting into the nitty-gritty, please, if you like this video, help us out by giving a thumbs up. We're a small channel, so any engagement is good engagement. If you like anime reviews, comic book reviews, and other tabletop gaming fundamentals, be sure to subscribe to the Legion of Myth channel. Lastly, if you think this character creation video is a benefit to you and your Forbidden Lands friends, or if you believe it will encourage others to play Forbidden Lands, please be sure to share it with them. Okay, that's enough shilling. Let's make a character. As I said previously, and as you can see in the sidebar, there are 12 steps to creating a Forbidden Lands character. Step 1 is when you choose your character's kin. If you didn't watch my video covering the kin of the Forbidden Lands game, I hope you take the opportunity to look at it, but for now, know that the kin are the various races in the game. You pick your character's profession in Step 2, and decide your character's age in Step 3. In Step 4, you spend your points on your character's attribute, while in Step 5, you spend points on your character's skills. In Step 6, you choose your character's starting talent. Step 7 is when things change up, as this is when you determine your character's pride. This is the first of the role-playing, yet also game mechanic affecting character trait. Next, choose a dark secret for your character in Step 8. In Step 9, you determine your character's relationship to the other player character. This is the step we'll certainly talk about, but since we're creating this character without the benefit of a group, I'm going to have to skip over it in regard to this specific character, and only show book example. You'll pick your character's gear in Step 10, decide your character's appearance in Step 11, and finally, choose your character's name to wrap everything up in Step 12's nice, neat little bow. Okay, let's begin at the beginning. It's time for Step 1. Let's pick our kin. I know I want to make this character a healer of some sort, and after reading the description of the various kin, I see that half-elves get a bonus to magic. While I don't consider myself to be a min-maxer or metagamer, a half-elf would certainly make a good spell-based healer. If you watch my video regarding the kin of Forbidden Lands RPG, you'll know there are two variations of half-elf, the Elven Spring and the Frailer. And while I really wanted to go the route of the Frailer, and I still could, and there's nothing preventing me from doing this, for the simplicity of the video, let's consider this character an Elven Spring half-elf, one who grew up with the elves and who is more in tune with nature. Let's jot down half-elf and move on. The key attribute for half-elf is wit. Since this will matter in the upcoming steps, I like to pencil in a little X next to the key attribute on the character sheet. We'll come back to that when we spend our attribute point. The half-elf's kin talent is psychic power, so I write that down under the talents section. Before moving on to Step 2, let's see what we have on the full-size character sheet. Alrighty, now we get to pick the profession. As I said before, I want to make this character a healer. Knowing that, I have a couple of options available to me. The first option is that I can pick the Druid profession, as Druids can get magical healing spell. Another potential healer profession I can choose is Minstrel. Minstrels have the ability to heal wits and empathy damage. Lastly, I suppose I can really pick any profession, preferably one that gives the healing skill as a profession skill, and just prioritize the healing skill as I adventure and improve my skill. I really want to go all in with my character's ability to heal, so we're going to make a Druid. The Druid's potential healing spells cover the gamut of possible damage a character can take. These spells can heal any attribute, poison, disease, and so forth. With the half-elf psychic power kin talent, my character's healing spells should be quite formidable. The key attribute for the druid is wits, so like we did before, we'll put another X next to wits on the character sheet. Next, we see the skills associated with the druid profession are endurance, survival, insight, healing, and animal handling. Like the key attribute, these profession skills will have a potential effect on the future character creation steps. So once again, let's put an X in the margin next to each of those skills. With that done, we have officially completed steps 1 and 2. Before moving on to step 3, let's take a look at the full-size character sheet to see what we have accomplished so far. Before we can determine attributes and skills, we have to know the age of the character. I envision this half-elf to be young and emotional. He really cares about the natural world and has the energy or zealotry to argue with anyone over animal rights, respecting nature, and healing the wounds of the world. Whether appropriate or misguided, or a combination of both, he is sincere and tireless in his belief, a true believer, if you will, not yet jaded by the real world. This immature attitude, especially from the perspective of the true elves, makes me believe this character is young. A young half-elf ranges from 16 to 30 years of age, and the young category will affect the number of reputation, attribute, and skill points the character receives at character creation. A young character simply has not had the time to experience the world, encounter others, and make his or her mark upon the world as the older ones have. So this character starts with a reputation of 0. As I will continue to do at the end of most steps, let's take a look at what our full-size character sheet looks like again. So here we are at step 4, where we get to spend our attribute points. In the last step, we determined that this half-elf character is young. A young character has a total of 15 attribute points to spread across all 4 attributes. At least 2 points must be assigned to each attribute, and under normal circumstances, a maximum of 4 points may be spent on any one attribute. The exception to this maximum is with the character's wits attribute. For each X we penciled in next to the attribute, or for each time wits was considered a key attribute, the maximum is raised by 1. Since wits was the key attribute for both half-elf kin and the druid profession, the normal 4 maximum is now 6. Therefore, strength, agility, and empathy can be a maximum of 4, while wits can be a maximum of 6. I have 15 attribute points to spend, and I've never created a character with a 6 in any attribute before, so this is how I decided to spend the point. This character is a half-elf druid, and I don't plan on having him on the front lines, so I'm going to risk it and give him 2 dice in strength. Agility is a bit better with 3 dice, while in wits I go nuts and give him the full complement of 6 base dice. The healing skill falls under the empathy attribute, so I max that out with 4 dice. 2 plus 3 plus 6 plus 4 means I have spent all 15 points, and the full character sheet now looks like. Now that we have our attributes completed, it's time to select our skills here in step 5. To be clear, you have the ability to use every skill on this list, whether you put points into the skill or not. So just because a skill is a 0 or no dice, does not mean you cannot perform the action. You'll just be rolling without any skill die. Unlike attributes, where youthful characters get a bonus to the total, with skills, the youngins receive a couple less skill points than their older counterparts. This young half-elf druid starts with 8 skill points I am free to place anywhere. When creating a new character, you may only assign 1 point to any single skill. This means that at the start of his or her adventuring career, your character will have either no points or 1 point assigned to each skill. Right now, I'm sure someone's screaming at me saying, "That's not true!" And that someone would be right. Do you remember when we placed X's by those 5 profession skills? For those skills, you may assign between 0 and 3 points. To clarify, because sometimes my break works counterintuitively to real people, For the 5 profession skills, you may assign between 0 and 3 points. For the non-proficient skills, you may assign either 0 or 1 point. With this character, I only have 8 total points to spend throughout all the skills, so I'm not sure I'm going to put 3 points into anything. Additionally, my goal is to be a healer, so I want to focus what few points I have on those abilities. One of the things you'll learn is that in Forbidden Lands, every skill is useful. There's no such thing as putting points into a bad skill, other than what works for your character concept and possibly your group dynamic. Let's look at the Druid's profession skills first. Endurance is a good survival skill and also speaks to the typical theme of a Druid's understanding of nature and the environment. For now, I'm going to pass on this, but we may come back to it as it could save my character's life one day. Okay, full stop. Yes, even though I just said I'm going to pass on Endurance, I know you see a number assigned to the skill. This character creation script is written to include my thoughts and considerations as I go through the process of making a character. However, the graphics are the end result for the sake of simplified editing. It's obvious from the image on the screen that I did come back and put a point in Endurance. So now, back to our regularly scheduled character creation. After Endurance, the next profession skill we have is Survival. The ability to hunt, forage, and generally survive also lends itself to the theme of the Druid. Plus, at some point you're going to run out of food, water, or comfortable camping location. Once again, for now I'm going to pass on this skill, but if we have any leftover points, I think we'll come back to Survival, even before going back to Endurance. Right out of the gate, I take a hard pass on the Insight skill. No, not because it's a bad skill, there are no bad skills, but rather because I think it moves away from the youth and brashness of the character. Besides, if I need to use Insight, I still have 6 base dice to roll, and I can raise the skill at any point in the future. Moving on, the Healing skill. Now we're talking. This skill allows the character to heal strength and agility damage of a broken character, as well as save the life of the critically injured. Now that sounds like a skill for a half-elf healer. While I can put 3 points into the skill, with the limited number of total skill points I have as a youthful character, I think 2 is more appropriate for now. So 2 points in healing it is. The last profession skill is Animal Handling. At first glance, you may think, I'll treat this the same way as Endurance and Survival. However, the Animal Handling skill is also used to heal animals, so that just made it a priority. Remember, I want to heal everything. For now, I'm only going to put 1 point into the Animal Handling skill, which leaves me with 5 more total points to spread around. The rest of the skills on the list are non-profession skills, so I can only put a maximum of 1 point into each of them. Instead of going down the list discussing every skill, let's just talk about the ones I chose. The first non-profession skill in which I put a single point is Performance. While the Healing skill heals strength and agility damage, Performance heals wits and empathy damage. As a starting Druid, I'm not nearly as good at Performance as a starting Minstrel character, and I'd gladly play second fiddle to a Minstrel who focuses on healing. See what I did there? Play second fiddle to a Minstrel. Come on, that was funny. Laugh. I'll give you a couple seconds. Go ahead, laugh. Alright. Ultimately, my goal for this character is to heal everything. And Performance adds to that ability nicely. 4 points remaining. With 6 base dice and wits, there are 2 schools of thought. The first school is that I should put my skill dice in wits-based skills to ensure success with whatever action I take. A specialist mentality, and the road I usually take. The second school is to shore up attribute weaknesses with skill dice, a more generalist mentality. One thing is certain in Forbidden Lands: death. There are myriad ways to die in the game, but 2 of the most common are combat and condition. With only 2 dice and strength, I have less than 0 desire to be in the thick of it. If I need to fight, it's going to be from as far away as possible. Also, with an agility of 3 and a strength of 2, I would be more effective with ranged attacks anyway. With that in mind, I'm going to put 1 point into marksmanship. 3 points remaining. The best way to avoid combat is to avoid combat. Scouting can help with this, as can the move skill. Since I have a high wits, which is used for the scouting skill, I've decided to put 1 point into move. Yeah, I've decided that shoring up those weaknesses is a better way to go at this point. And I'll let the direction of the game sessions and my character's interactions with the group determine how I proceed post-character. I now have 2 points remaining. The other common way to die is through conditions like hungry and cold. With that in mind, I guess it's time to go back to those endurance and survival skills. While they may be profession skills, I only have 2 points left for 2 skills, so we'll just put 1 point each and be done with it. Our 8 points have been spent. As always, let's take a gander at the full character sheet before heading into step 6. And now it is time for step 6, talents. We already jotted down the kin talent, psychic power, back in step 1, so let's see what else we can get. Every profession provides a choice from 3 talent options. For the druid, those options are Path of Healing, which allows the character to cast healing spells, Path of Shifting Shapes, which allows the druid to cast shape-shifting spells, and Path of Sight, which allows the druid to cast awareness spells. While all 3 schools of magic are good, and maybe one day in the future my character will have access to all 3 paths, I think it's pretty obvious which talent I'm choosing. Time to write Path of Healing in the talent section with a rank of 1. Lastly, as a young character, I get to select 1 general talent from the list. Like skills, all talents are good and useful. However, to keep with the theme of this character, let's see if we can find something healery or healer-esque or whatever appropriate made-up word it's supposed to be. There are some good options, especially considering I run a couple of house rules that allow for the ability to create healing potions. However, this video only includes what is provided in the base core rules of the player's handbook, so in the end I chose Herbalist, both for the druidic theme and for the survival skill Food Gathering Assist. Let's scribble Herbalist, also at rank 1 on the character sheet, and take a look at the full-size version once again. Upon arriving here at step 7, we come to our half-elf druid's pride. Once per game session, you can activate your pride to assist a roll you just failed, as long as it makes sense for the pride, as long as it's relevant. For each profession, the player's handbook gives 3 examples of pride. However, you are also free and encouraged to create your own pride with Game Master approval. Please refer to the Forbidden Lands Player's Handbook for more information regarding pride. For now, I have decided that this character takes pride in bringing people and creatures back from the brink of death. No one dies on my watch. Legitimately, this will have no effect on typical healing. However, it may come into play with critical injuries and last chance life-saving technique. Let's just skip right on to step 8 and decide what the character's dark secret will be. Every player character has experienced something before the game begins that has left its mark on the character and still threatens the character in some way. This is the character's dark secret. The character's dark secret is a tool that has many uses, most notably as a GM story hook and a way for players to earn experience for their character. Like Pride, if you want to know more about dark secrets, you can read about it in the player's handbook. As before, for each profession, the book gives 3 examples of possible dark secret. However, you are, once again, free and encouraged to create your own dark secret with Game Master approval. While this half-elf druid character represents energy, healing, and life, his dark secret is that one day he came across a couple of Rust brothers in the process of performing a human sacrifice. Unable to witness such an event and unwilling to walk away, he tried to stop it. In the process, he accidentally killed one of the Rust brothers before getting away. Is the other Rust brother after him? Are all the Rust brothers after him? Does anyone even know? Is this just something that's a guilty conscience for him? There are many ways to play on the dark secret. So it seems our character sheet is starting to look a little less blank. Step 9 is where we determine the character's relationships with other player characters. These relationships are not just a potential source of experience points for the player character, but also provide a narrative background and hook for the players and GMs to use that involve the party. Once again, each profession in the player's handbook gives 3 examples of relationship. However, you're always encouraged to create your own, in conjunction with the other players, of course, and with the Game Master's approval. Since we're creating this character in a vacuum, I'm going to provide the examples given in the player's handbook, but ultimately skip this section in regard to this video. Just know that this is a very important step in the character creation process, and one that involves the other player. So what are the Druid's example relationships? The first one says, Anya doesn't understand her role in the world. I will guide her, but not teach. Next we have, Heidi is drawn to the dark arts and must be kept under close watch. If needed, it's my duty to stop her. The last example is, Dimitri is a slender oak that could grow into something great given the right care. Each of these relationships is vague, yet informative enough to provide many role-playing and thus experience point gaining opportunities. And never forget, relationships can and should change over time. Now let's look at what our first entry in the back of the full-size character sheet. In step 10, we pick our gear. With this character's low strength of 2, he can only carry 4 lines of items without being encumbered. With only 4 lines, we're going to be hard pressed to carry anything meaningful, but let's see what we can do. All characters start with a backpack and a water skin for free. And always remember that items that carry other items such as backpacks and scabbards never count toward encumbrance. Next, as a druid, I get to choose either a staff or a knife as my starting weapon. Let's keep everything as light as possible and go with the knife. The knife is a light item, so only takes up half of a line on the character sheet. Now I get to choose one item from the list of trade goods. I have a backpack to carry food items, as well as a water skin to quench my thirst, so I think I'll choose a small tent as my free item. This small tent is a normal item, so takes up a full line on the character sheet. It also provides a +2 bonus when setting up camp. Moving on, I get to roll a d6 to determine my starting silver, from which I can purchase more items. I rolled a 3. Not horrible, I suppose. Could be worse. From these 3 silver, I decided to buy a sling so I can have a ranged weapon. This sling cost me 1 of those 3 silver, and is another light item, so I place it on the same line as the knife. From there, I simply decide to save my final 2 silver. Lastly, we have our consumables. I didn't purchase any torches or arrows, so let's leave those blocks empty and look to water and food. According to the player's handbook, the druid starts with a d8 food and a d8 water. Remember, consumables are not a die roll, but an abstract representation of what the character has remaining. Quite simply, on the character sheet, we just write d8 in the food and water blocks, and that's it. Food and water each count as 1 normal weight item on the character sheet. I guess this is a good time to stop since we have reached my weight limit. Before we hit those final 2 steps, here's the final version of the backside of the character sheet. Alright, step 11 is where we define the notable appearance features of the character. I was initially going to go with a dirtier, outdoorsman type, but decided that as a healer, cleanliness seems to fit better in my mind. As such, I gave him fair skin with long strawberry blonde hair. I wanted his hair to resemble fall colors, with small twigs and leaves added for style and effect, to bring him back to nature. Well, certainly not clumsy. As a half-elf with a strength of 2 and an agility of 3, I see him more as a skinny human than a beautiful traditional elf. The elves would certainly see the human in him. Lastly, instead of going with greens and browns or other earthy or camouflage patterns, I like the idea of blues and white, 2 colors that may be a bit more difficult to find, at least in pure form, out in the wild. Before our final review, let's finish up step 12 really quickly and name the character. In homage to what used to be my favorite RPG, until they got all woke and preachy within the game itself. Don't do that. I am naming this healer Garland the Caretaker, or just Garland. Garland the Elven Spring Druid. And with that, all 12 steps of character creation are complete. To wrap this up, let's take one final look at both sides of the character sheet and see if we missed anything. Having no armor is kind of scary, and it would be good to get a mount sooner rather than later. But as long as Garland's healing skills are up to the task, the group will probably assist him where they can. I don't think I see any mistakes with this character, but maybe your eyes see something I missed. If so, feel free to let me know in the comments below. And I think that is a wrap for this episode. Please let me know what you think of this Forbidden Lands character creation episode and of the Forbidden Lands game as a whole. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to use a fast action to arm that thumbs up icon and share this video with your friends. That type of engagement really helps with the various YouTube algorithmic shenanigans. If you have not subscribed to the Legion of Myth channel, now's a great time to do so. While you're at it, ring that bell icon so you can be notified when new anime, comics, and tabletop game videos are uploaded. Do you like stuff? Well, I like stuff, and if you like stuff as much as I do, you'll want to check out the Legion of Myth weekly live stream every Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth. See the description below for the link. Our hosts Garthon and Heathen Dog provide comic book reviews, anime reviews, tabletop gaming fundamentals, and other nerd topics that should interest you. Yes, I fumbled Heathen Dog's name. So, what does this have to do with stuff? Well, once per month, they also have Twitch follower and subscriber giveaways. These giveaways include video game keys, Amazon gift cards, as well as both PDF and print versions of various tabletop RPGs. As of the recording date of this video, we have multiple Year Zero engine games to give away, including the full Coriolis Icon bundle. One could be yours. You're a Forbidden Lands player, maybe you've had an interest in Coriolis. Maybe you already have Coriolis but could use some of the other stuff and need an extra book. Whatever it happens to be, it follows the same generic rules as these ones we just went through. A little different, but mostly the same. Why not check out Coriolis? You could win it for free, the entire Icon bundle. That is, if we haven't already given it away. So, remember, that's Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth. If you can't catch them live, you can always watch their past segments on this Legion of Myth YouTube channel. And with that, I really do hope you have a wonderful day.